It was a crisp fall evening when I first noticed the fractures forming in my carefully constructed life. Claire, my wife of 7 years, had gone out, supposedly for a night with friends. I stayed behind, sipping wine and watching an old film to pass the time. We'd been together long enough to learn each other's routines, moods, and subtle cues. But that night, something felt off. When she called earlier, her tone had been overly cheerful, her laughter a little too loud, like someone trying too hard to sound carefree. I dismissed the nagging feeling, chalking it up to overthinking. Then, just after midnight, Claire came through the door. She was laughing like a teenager sneaking in past curfew. Her cheeks were flushed, hair slightly messy, and a scent clung to her, a cologne I didn't wear. My gut twisted, but I managed to keep my expression neutral. I smiled, pretending everything was normal. She dropped onto the couch, kicked off her heels, and grinned at me as if nothing in the world was wrong. "You're in a good mood," I said, setting my glass aside. "It was such a fun night," she beamed, her voice pitched higher than usual. "Just the girls. Drinks, jokes, nothing wild." I nodded, studying her face more than her words. "Glad to hear it." As the evening wore on, I couldn't ignore the subtle shifts, how she avoided eye contact, how tightly she gripped her phone. I kept quiet. Confrontation wasn't my first move. Patience was. I decided to wait, to watch. Trust, I reminded myself, was supposed to be the cornerstone of our relationship. The following morning, Claire seemed unusually chipper, humming as she made breakfast. Her phone buzzed several times, but she never once reached for it. When she stepped out of the kitchen, I caved. My heart thudded in my chest as I picked up her phone and unlocked it. We both knew each other's passcodes, once a symbol of transparency, now a cruel irony. The messages hit me like a punch to the chest. "Last night was incredible. I can still feel your hands on me." I scrolled, my vision swimming. The sender was saved under a simple letter, M. Dozens of messages. Smiling selfies. Photos taken in a dim hotel room. Claire laughing, a glass in her hand, leaning against a man I didn't recognize. My world cracked open in that moment. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was visceral. I put the phone back exactly as I found it and forced myself to stay composed. There would be time for fury later. Right now, I needed something more powerful. A plan. Claire returned moments later, completely unaware. She kissed my cheek and handed me a plate of eggs, wearing the same bright smile I'd fallen in love with. And all I could think was, how? How could she fake this so easily? In the days that followed, I drifted through our home like a silent observer. I watched, listened, and began assembling the full picture. What I thought was a single reckless night turned out to be something else entirely. It wasn't a fling. Claire and the man, M, had been meeting for months. Stolen moments, secret rendezvous, while I was left believing we were simply busy with life. Anger burned beneath the surface, but I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I turned my focus toward gathering proof. I photographed messages, saved images, even collected the receipts she carelessly stuffed into her purse. A plan began to take shape. And with it, a cold, steady sense of purpose. I didn't change a thing, not on the surface, at least. I remained the doting husband. I made her favorite dishes, chuckled at her stories, and even surprised her with plans for a weekend escape, just the two of us. Claire appeared relieved, as if my affection somehow wiped her conscience clean. But she didn't know the truth. I wasn't trying to fix our marriage, I was building the stage for its final act. The getaway was the perfect setup. A remote mountain cabin, surrounded by nature and far from anyone who might interrupt. Claire was ecstatic. She couldn't stop talking about how much she needed the break. I packed our things carefully, making sure every detail was flawless. I even brought along some of my new hobby gear, equipment she never questioned. That first night played out like a dream, at least from her perspective. We shared wine by the fireplace, talked about old memories, and danced beneath the open sky. She saw it as romance. I saw it as a final performance. The next morning, I told her I wanted to snap some scenic photos and suggested she sleep in a bit longer. Wrapped in blankets, she nodded sleepily, unaware of what I was really doing. Instead of landscapes, I arranged hidden cameras around the cabin, angled to discreetly record everything that would unfold. Every corner was covered, each shot carefully framed to capture the truth. When she finally woke, I proposed a hike, claiming I'd found a breathtaking trail nearby. She hesitated at first but gave in, lacing up her boots and following me out into the woods. For a while, walking through trees and sunlight, I almost let myself forget. Almost. Later, back at the cabin, her phone buzzed repeatedly. She gave it a quick glance, annoyance flickering across her face. "Just work," she muttered, brushing it off. But I knew better. That night, I cooked her favorite meal and kept her wine glass full. She laughed easily, spinning stories, completely unaware of the storm waiting just beneath the surface. When she excused herself to go to the bathroom, I seized the opportunity. I picked up her phone, typed out a single message to him. "Let's just call it off." Then I deleted the conversation. Every trace, gone. By the time we got home, Claire was back to her usual self, laughing, humming, pretending everything was perfect. But when she reached into her purse, her smile faltered. Her expression turned pale as she rummaged through its contents. "Where is it?" she whispered, panic creeping into her voice. "What's wrong?" I asked, keeping my tone calm and sympathetic. "My ring," she said, her voice cracking. I can't find it." "Oh no," I murmured, feigning concern. "When's the last time you had it?" Her eyes searched mine, full of guilt and confusion. I must have taken it off at some point." Of course, she hadn't lost it. I'd taken it. That ring, the symbol of our vows, was now just another weapon in my plan. The following day, I made my final move. A thick envelope sat on the kitchen table, waiting. Inside, I'd organized everything with surgical precision: printouts of messages, photographs, receipts, irrefutable proof of her betrayal. She found it. Her face drained of all color as she flipped through the pages. What is this?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "The truth," I replied. "The part you've been keeping from me." She tried to explain, stumbling over her words, offering half-formed excuses. I raised my hand to stop her. "I don't need your stories, Claire. I just want you gone." Tears streamed down her face as the reality hit. "Please, we can fix this. I'll do anything." "It's already done," I said, my voice like ice. "You made your decision. This is mine." I'd already met with a lawyer. The paperwork was ready. Everything would be fast and one-sided. Thanks to the evidence I'd gathered, I would walk away with the house, the car, even the accounts. Claire never saw it coming. She packed through sobs, broken, her world collapsing as swiftly as she had dismantled mine. I felt no guilt. She had torn apart our life with lies. This was not revenge, it was justice. In the weeks that followed, I started over. Slowly, methodically. Rebuilding the parts of me she tried to break. Piece by piece, I reclaimed my peace. Claire wasn't so lucky. The man she risked it all for had disappeared, vanished without a word. Friends we once shared distanced themselves, siding with me when they learned the truth. She was left with nothing. One quiet evening, I sat on the porch with a glass of whiskey, staring out into the night. The betrayal still hurt, a dull throb where something used to be. But above it all was a sense of victory. I had taken back control. Her laughter no longer echoed in my mind. It had been replaced with something better. My own. Born not of bitterness, but of freedom, strength, and the cold, clean taste of justice.